Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It's been a while. I apologize for that, but I hope you have all entered the new year in good spirits. And there was a peculiar one I wanted to talk to you about today, and I hope that you might have some experiences to and examples to share as well around this one, because it's one we see quite a lot, but we rarely really think about it as an interpretation tool, I find, and it can be a really powerful one. It's about creating these half-real exhibitions or exhibits within our exhibitions and galleries, where you have either a real object or a replica, and then a suggested world, meaning something that the visitor is actually putting together or creating themselves. So what I mean is, if you want to create an atmosphere, you can actually do it without building a full set. You can try this kind of half-real approach, if you like, where you anchor the scene with a real object or a replica. Occasionally, a replica is a lot better because you can actually touch it or interact with it somehow as a visitor. And then you suggest the rest with either a projection or a painted wall or something like that. And what happens is visitors complete the picture in their heads, and that is actually often a lot more memorable than if you just give them the full picture. And what happens here is the brain loves to create and finishing patterns. So when you give visitors one solid, maybe a touchable looking anchor, and then a hint of emotion or space, then they will supply the missing pieces themselves. And that is often a lot cheaper, actually, than building a full set. It's easier to change, and it is a lot more memorable. And I got a couple of examples I would like to show you, and then there's some points as to how this can be created. But I just wanted to show you a photo example first, just to give you a little bit of an idea about what I mean here. So this is from a special exhibition at the Moesgaard Museum in Denmark, where you got, if you look at the picture to the right first, you got this wagon or cart in front of you, a replica, and you can touch it, and there are food and stone different things on it that you can pick up and touch. And then you can see, if you look at the picture a little bit from the side to the left, the picture is taken a little bit to the side of the wagon. You have the cart pool sort of going directly into the wall. And if you look at the picture to the right again, you can see two oxen walking in front of it there, projection on the wall. And in the picture to the left, excuse my poor photo skills, but I hope you can get an impression of it anyway. You can see the picture, the projection slowly changing into this large group of people, and you're walking with them, next to your cart, or maybe sitting on the cart if you prefer, walking with them, and the sound effects and the atmosphere is kind of doing the rest. Now, the only thing there is the cart, the wagon, and the objects there on it. But the rest is you and the projection, of course, and the sound effects filling in the rest of the image there. So what is happening here is, first you need an anchor, either a real object or a replica. Occasionally, as I said, a replica can be preferred because you can actually get visitors to engage with it, touch it, climb into it, or whatever. Then you need to light the object or your replica, not the actual walls. So your projection stays dimmer and maybe even behind or above your eye level. Then you need these very short, sort of subtle loops, something between 8 to 45 seconds with micro pauses. So you get the brain to stay in a certain atmosphere and get to find out, what's going on here? Oh, look, oxen, there we are, this is happening. And then slowly short changes, not sudden, like quick ones, but slow ones, so the brain can fill in the story. You want to limit the palette, so you want to use silhouettes, very, very few tones, maybe 2-3 tones, so the artifact stays dominant. If we go back to the picture there for a second, you can see the light is on the object, and the silhouette in the back, you can see it, and the projection there, you can see it, obviously, but the tones are very subtle, and there's not a lot of color going on there. Occasionally, you want to use a visitor prompt, like a visitor action, like you want visitors to do something, find or compare or imagine or something. But that's not always the point of these. Sometimes it's simply to anchor them in a certain atmosphere where you want them to fill in the rest of the world, this suggested world. You want to think about accessibility, so no strobe. You want to use very clear contrast there. No sudden sort of shocking changes. Because the purpose here is not really surprise. Of course, you can use that occasionally if you want visitors to have a good scare, but you also want to think about accessibility and about visitors who might be a little sensitive when you do these kind of things. But it can be very, very powerful. I want to show you one more example. This is from the same museum, but a former special exhibition. So this is a canoe that you, again, a replica. So you can climb into it, which I have done here in this picture. And then you have not a projection, but a painting on the wall. And you have sound effects and you have a little bit of mist there, as you can see. And this is to give visitors an idea about what it was like traveling down rivers on very long journeys. And it's a very simple little effect. And it's also, by the way, a very good photo opportunity. And you want visitors to go away and post on their social media and link to you, of course. But this is a very simple thing to do, but it can be very, very effectful precisely because you are not giving a full picture here. What you're doing is you're anchoring one object or a replica and one tiny projection moment. So these half-real scenes often feel more real simply because visitors fill in the rest. In many ways, that is more memorable, and it's something that stays with visitors for a lot longer because they created their own little world there. So I wanted to ask you, which objects in your collections could you use as anchors, or which replicas would be good to work around here? What you also want to think about is creating a little bit of emotion or a change, perhaps like sailing down a river or walking behind a cart or something like that. You want an action, not necessarily a huge fierce one, but something that creates a bit of a movement to put into this atmosphere. So let me see some of your examples. It would be lovely to share some of this. Also, what are some of the pitfalls in this you find? Is there something that makes this not work for some reason? Or is there something that really, really highlights this kind of interpretation? Thank you so much for watching.